Uh, Morning, everyone. My name's Anant. I lead our technology, media, and telecommunications practice at BCG, Boston Consulting Group. Sometimes I find it's a bit ironic because when I find myself being a late adopter, which is probably not the case for most of you, but I'm also an optimist. So my attitude towards many things has been the chips will fall and something good will come out of it. Now, in this particular case, though, the chips continue to fall. But I can tell you what, the penny is starting to drop. One of the things in consulting, it's a privilege. You get to meet a lot of decision makers. We recently spoke to around 1,500 C-level executives. These are folks you probably deal with, who you often come across when you're talking about your products. And it's incredible the level of intent change that's happened. 1 in 2 are saying that this is really the top of their list. But what's actually really exciting on this page for me is that people are putting money into it where their mouth is. And this has really changed at this point in time. And imagine, these are complex companies, large companies. There's a lot of things vying for attention. There's been a huge increase in the amount of tech spend that's happening with a view to getting it into AI. But I tell you what, there is also a lot of trepidation. There's a lot of trepidation about where does this go, and all of this excitement and vision that's happened over the last year or so in many companies, will it actually turn to real value for companies? So we see 4 things which are actually going to be quite different in 2024 versus what 2023 was. And I'll go into each one of these as we go in this presentation. Number 1, there's been a fair amount of experimentation and POCs that's happened. Now, actually, companies are thinking about, is this resulting in transforming our function? Is it really resulting in transforming our company? And so when you think about services and products which are top of your mind or which you're trying to pitch, it's really important to think about where does it stand in terms of helping that agenda, because it's a real complex point for them. The second thing is it's a bit of a, what companies have found is that for many, many years, analytics and AI has been around. It's been there in the form of business insights and data insights, but it's not really been a core area of attention or something which they've really curated. Gen AI has caused a lot of excitement, but that excitement is not taking people very far unless they're really marrying the left brain with the right brain. And I'll show you something on that, on how it can move it together. So it's really important now to rethink how traditional machine learning, reinforcement learning, predictive AI gets married before you actually start putting in on a Gen AI veneer on it, and that angle there. The third thing is it's time that executives are saying we have to get to scale, and we have to get to top line and bottom line impact. So you will see that POCs, you will see pilots, and I think this links back to the first time, is something which people are saying, OK, it's good to experiment, but what does it take to actually make it impact our entire enterprise economics? And that really comes to navigating people and processes and really the operating model challenges. And we have some interesting statistics which shows that a huge amount of unlock is there, because otherwise it just runs up against a wall. So let me go into that. Now, when you talk about the first thing, what does transforming enterprise mean? What does transforming business functions mean? 3 things, really. There are a bunch of things which can be done within the existing organization. You'll hear things like Gen AI can give 50, 60% upside, really new revenue streams coming in. The first battle to cross is, can you even get to a very good 10 to 20% productivity potential from what you're doing right now? And whether it's support functions, whether it's in your core functions, by really encouraging teams to adopt, actually that's becoming more and more possible. So that's the first battle. The second battle is to pick up a few functions which are key to competitive advantage and making sure that you're really able to amp up efficiency, effectiveness, doing things really differently. And you can actually get a 30 to 50% uplift. Now, this is all of a sudden moving into revenue streams, being able to get better ROI from what you're spending on, but it's important to capture that beyond just looking at it from a cost point of view. And the third thing, which actually is the really innovative part of it, which a lot of it is starting to happen in large companies. You don't see that out in the market, but there are some really good examples, is entire new business models coming in, entire new ways of creating revenue streams which are getting set up in large companies. So these are the three value plays that executives are thinking about and trying to get to. Now, to my second point, it doesn't happen if you just say, let's have GenAI initiatives or AI initiatives running across everywhere in the company. You have to marry them to really, really well. And this is the part about mixing the math with the art of it. You can have a great product suite and have a very good experience around communicating it. But if you have not spent time on the math around what is the right product, how do you actually deliver it, who do you actually deliver it to at what point, then you're not going to be able to make a difference by the experience in which you deliver. Conversely, the reason why AI has been a bit behind the front show, so to say, for so many years is because GenAI has not existed. So I think marrying that together, whether you're a company looking to adopt it or a product house or a provider who's trying to support your client, is really important. And we see that when you actually combine it together, it can actually give really good results. I mean, there are many stats here. I love the second one. One of the biggest beauty retailers in the world that we work with, they're using predictive AI to figure out, of course, what product people will buy. They target women, so essentially, what works best based on the interactions that they've had. But then they're really using GenAI to have them experience what these products would look like on them. And the ROI has just been phenomenal. 2x at their scale is huge. So that's the kind of impact you're talking about when you put it together. How many companies are doing this? Not that many. So when we talk about who is really being able to scale the whole thing on a strong foundation, that's 10%. 90% of companies are somewhere in the middle. And in fact, some of the best companies are in that middle 50%. I can tell you that the good thing is that they have the AI maturity. You see that first number there, 46% in the middle. They have the ingredients in place. They've been experimenting. They've been piloting. It's been giving results. It's not being able to scale yet at the level which they want to. Now is the time. So 2024 is the time when there are a lot of these 50% is going to move on to this 10% bucket, where all of a sudden you get a big bump from scaling it up. Now, the second last thing I'm going to say is, what does it take to really make it happen? We call it the 10-20-70 rule. There is a lot of talk and a lot of conversations around what's the best model, what's the best algorithm, what's changing in the field of algorithms. At the end of the day, when we run these programs, and we're now running multi-year programs, we see that algorithms account for maybe 10% of the impact that's felt, because the algorithm itself doesn't move the business value. In fact, interestingly, even technology, when you look back to it, the tech stack actually accounts for 20%, because what happens is that there is a fair amount of spending on the tech stack, but the tech stack is not being able to utilize to its potential, even if it's the best tech stack in the world. And of course, in many cases, it gets caught up in complexity very often. What really you need to change is people and processes. And so within 3 to 6 months, actually, and maybe this sounds ambitious when large companies are doing it, but within 3 to 6 months, you can start getting initial impact of large AI transformation programs. But really, you're able to scale only if you spend the next 1.5 years really making sure that it's embedded in the organization. So any company that, if you're doing it yourself or if you're supporting other companies through it, it's really important to make sure that you don't miss out on that 70% journey and really accompany them through it. So that's where things are heading at this point in time. And when we think about, you saw the 66% number on the first slide. When we think about the other 33% who are saying, look, they're really happy. It's changed how they're thinking, how they're feeling in these last few years. What are they doing? Here's what they're saying. And when they're saying that, look, there is a lot of talk. It's changing our personal lives, so we love it. But it's not the excitement that's motivating us. We want to make sure that we invest into it for real economic value. And so we invest into it for both productivity improvements, the deploy, as well as the top-line growth, the reshape and the invent, which I spoke about. The second thing, which is really important, is that they are upskilling their entire organization. And it's important to upskill systematically rather than have people just try it out. And they feel that there's a big delta when people actually devote time thinking and learning about how to apply it in their jobs. The third thing is being really vigilant around cost of use. A lot of this can budget out very quickly. You know that there's a lot of consumption-based models. There's a lot of OpEx. And so if they don't watch it properly, it can actually be a huge spend item without revenue returns. So they're being very vigilant about the cost of use. The second last thing is there are a few companies, of course, which have the heft to go it alone. But most don't. Even market leaders know that you need to build an ecosystem together to do it. And so it's really important to form strategic partnerships. Conversely, on the provider side, it's important to be part of an ecosystem when approaching large clients and working with them, because it actually adds a huge fillip to the impact you can bring together. And lastly, I will say that as consultants, we always do value versus feasibility to try to get an organization to think about what's the area to focus on. That feasibility aspect is no longer just about technical feasibility. In fact, it's become a three-axis thing. Risk has become a really important part of this. And so very often we find ourselves telling our clients to actually pull back because the risk of doing something, even if it's feasible and the value is there, can actually be a huge negative hit later. And so when you think about your conversations, and this is what a lot of winners are doing. They're really thinking about how do they weave risk into their implementation programs on this. So that's a bit of what we're seeing in the market. Look, this is something which is really got a long way to go, but we really believe that you will start seeing a delta in 2024 where companies are certainly starting to break out in their industries, and the guys who are able to do some of these things will be the ones which will be at the top of the league table. So that's my presentation for today. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it. Thank you.